Okay, let's talk about something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but is actually reshaping finance right now. I'm talking about quantum computing. Now, this isn't just about making computers faster. It's a completely different way of calculating things, exploring tons of possibilities all at the same time. And that makes it a perfect match for some of finance's biggest, toughest problems. So, how big is this revolution, really? Well, the numbers might just blow you away. Get this. In 2024, right now, the market for quantum computing and finance is already worth a cool $300 million. That's real money, real investment happening today. But here's the thing. That number, that's just the very beginning. It's the launch pad. Because by 2032, that's less than a decade away, that market is expected to absolutely explode to $6.3 billion. We're talking a 20-fold increase. That's not just growth, it's a sign of a massive, seismic shift in how the entire financial industry is going to work. Think about that growth rate for a second. 46.5% every single year. That's not just, good progress. Experts are calling it a fundamental inflection point. And what that really means is this is the moment. This is when quantum computing stops being a theoretical idea in a lab and starts becoming a real-world strategic tool that's going to define who wins and who loses in finance. Okay, so a ton of money is pouring in, but where is it actually going? This isn't people just throwing cash at a cool idea. No, this is all about targeted investment aimed at solving some of the biggest, most nagging problems that have plagued finance for years. So if you look at where the money's being spent, it's pretty spread out across the whole financial world. The biggest chunk, almost a third, is going into risk management and cybersecurity, which makes sense, right? But you can see that asset management, retail banking, and investment banking are all getting a big piece of the pie too. It just goes to show how widespread the impact is already becoming. Let's dive into that biggest slice, risk management. This is the #1 priority. Financial firms are pouring money into quantum to do things like next-level stress testing, to see how they'd hold up in a massive market crash. They're also using it to spot super sophisticated fraud as it happens in real time. And maybe most importantly, they're trying to build new cryptographic defenses, basically new kinds of security that can stand up to attacks from other quantum computers in the future. So managing risk is the big thing today. But the real long-term prize, the area where people think the most value is going to be created, that's in asset and wealth management. I mean, just imagine being able to optimize a gigantic investment portfolio with a kind of precision that our current computers can't even dream of. That's the game changer, right? And it really doesn't stop there. You've got investment banks using it to price complex derivatives more accurately. Retail banks are using it for much smarter credit scoring. Even the systems that process our payments are being optimized. I mean, it's starting to touch literally every single corner of the industry. All right, so we know what's going on. The next question is, where is all this happening? It turns out this quantum race has a very clear leader. And that leader is without a doubt the United States. Right now, the US makes up almost half of the entire global market, a whopping 45% share. That's a huge lead, and it really shows you where the center of all this innovation is. So, why the US? What's giving them this edge? Well, it's really a perfect storm of a few things. You've got these incredible research ecosystems, you have the big banks and hedge funds on Wall Street jumping in early, you have easy access to quantum computers through the cloud, and you've got regulators who are really pushing for better cybersecurity. It all adds up. And don't expect that lead to disappear anytime soon. The US market by itself is projected to be worth over $2.8 billion by 2032. So, yeah, it's on track to stay the global epicenter of quantum finance for the foreseeable future. All this data, all this growth, it seems to be pointing towards one specific year. A year when everything is set to change. 2030. Many experts are calling it the tipping point. So, what exactly does that mean? Well, the tipping point is basically the moment the whole conversation shifts. By 2030, quantum computing isn't going to be seen as some experimental future tech anymore. It's just going to be a business necessity. Table stakes for any serious player in finance. There's this quote from Datum Intelligence that just nails it. They say quantum computing will emerge as a competitive differentiator, separating institutions that can process complexity at unprecedented scale from those constrained by classical computing limits. I mean, just let that sink in. It's not just about getting a little bit of an edge, it's about a deep, fundamental split between the companies that can handle this new level of complexity and those that just can't. So what we're really watching here is this massive shift in thinking. The old view was that this was just for researchers in a lab, a future technology. But the new reality, which is coming fast, is that it's a strategic necessity, a competitive differentiator. The change is happening right now. Okay, so after all that, what's the big takeaway? What's the one thing you really need to remember from all this? It's pretty simple, really. The race is on. It has already started. This isn't something to just watch from the sidelines anymore. Getting into quantum computing is quickly moving from being an experiment to being a major competitive advantage. And that window of opportunity to get ahead, it's closing a lot faster than you might think. And that really leaves us with one final kind of tough question. As this technology becomes an absolute must-have, creating this split between the leaders and the laggards, you have to ask yourself, which institutions are going to be the ones left behind?